What if I told you that every war, every tear, every heartbreak, every fear, and every death can be traced back to a single decision? A decision made in a perfect world. A decision made in a garden unlike anything humanity has ever seen. Most people know the story of Adam and Eve, but very few understand the true danger that entered Eden that day. Because the first sin did not begin with eating a fruit, it began with a question. And by the end of this story, you will understand why that same question continues to challenge humanity even now. The Garden of Eden was perfect. There was no suffering, no disease, no fear, no shame. Adam and Eve lived surrounded by beauty beyond imagination. Every tree provided food. Every river brought life. Every day was filled with peace. And most importantly, humanity lived in close fellowship with me. Nothing separated us. Nothing stood between Creator and creation. But hidden within this paradise was a test, not because I desired humanity to fail, but because love without choice is not love at all. Obedience without freedom has no meaning. At the center of the garden stood the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I had given only one command: do not eat from that tree. Everything else belonged to them. Yet one day a new voice entered the garden, a voice filled with deception, a voice that appeared harmless, a voice that would change the course of history. The serpent approached Eve, more cunning than any creature in the field. But notice something important. The serpent did not begin with rebellion. He began with doubt. He asked a question. Did I really say that you must not eat from every tree in the garden? It seemed innocent. Yet it was the most dangerous question ever asked, because doubt is often the doorway through which deception enters. Eve answered. She explained that they were free to eat from every tree except the one in the middle of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Then the serpent revealed his true intention. You will not surely die. Your eyes will be opened. You will become like me, knowing good and evil. Think about what happened in that moment. The first temptation was not merely about fruit. It was about trust. Would humanity trust my wisdom, or would they trust their own desires? The same question confronts people every day. Will you trust what is true, or what is attractive? Will you trust my voice, or the voices competing for your attention? Eve looked at the tree. The fruit appeared beautiful, desirable, promising wisdom. Everything about it seemed appealing, and so she reached out. She took the fruit, and she ate. Then she gave some to Adam, and he ate as well. In that instant, everything changed. The moment the fruit was consumed, their eyes were opened, but not in the way they expected. Instead of becoming greater, they became broken. Instead of gaining freedom, they gained fear. Instead of finding enlightenment, they discovered shame. For the first time, they realized they were naked. For the first time, they felt vulnerable. For the first time, they experienced guilt. And so they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. Have you ever noticed what humanity does after making a mistake? People hide. They hide behind excuses. They hide behind pride. They hide behind success. They hide behind masks. Adam and Eve did exactly the same thing, but something even more heartbreaking was about to happen. As evening approached, I walked through the garden, the place where we had once shared perfect fellowship. Yet when my presence drew near, Adam and Eve hid among the trees. Imagine that moment. The very people created to walk with me now ran from me, not because I had changed, but because sin had changed them. I called out to Adam, "Where are you?" I knew exactly where he was. The question was not about his location. The question was about his condition. Adam answered, "I heard your voice, and I was afraid." For the first time in human history, fear had entered the human heart. Fear where there had once been peace. Fear where there had once been trust. Fear where there had once been love. Then Adam did something humanity still does today. He shifted the blame. "The woman you gave me the fruit, and I ate." Eve blamed the serpent. The serpent had deceived her. No one wanted responsibility. Sin had not only separated humanity from me, it had begun separating people from one another. Then judgment came. The serpent was cursed, and in that judgment I revealed the first promise of redemption. One day the offspring of the woman would crush the serpent's head. Though the serpent would wound him, victory would ultimately belong to him. This was the first glimpse of the salvation that would one day come through me. Even in humanity's darkest moment, hope was already being prepared. The woman would experience sorrow and pain. The ground itself would be cursed because of Adam's disobedience. Work would become difficult. The earth would produce thorns and thistles. Life would become marked by struggle. And eventually, humanity would return to the dust from which it had come. Yet even in judgment, my mercy remained. Notice this carefully. I did not abandon Adam and Eve. I did not leave them in their shame. Instead, I made garments from animal skins and clothed them. Before they could cover themselves, I provided a covering for them. This was more than an act of compassion. It was a foreshadowing, a picture of how one day I would provide the ultimate covering for sin. Then came the final and most heartbreaking moment. Adam and Eve could no longer remain in Eden. If they ate from the tree of life in their fallen condition, they would remain forever trapped in separation. So they were sent out from the garden. The gates of paradise were closed. Cherubim stood guard. A flaming sword blocked the way. The Garden of Eden was lost. But the story was not over, because from the moment humanity left Eden, a greater story began. A story of redemption, a story of rescue, a story that would ultimately lead back to me. And perhaps the greatest lesson of Eden is this: sin promises freedom, but produces bondage. Sin promises wisdom, but creates confusion. Sin promises fulfillment, but leaves emptiness behind. Yet no matter how far humanity falls, my mercy continues to reach toward them. If this story has deepened your understanding of Scripture, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Primordial Lore, and join us as we uncover the greatest stories ever told. And now, continue to the next chapter, where the first family faces a tragedy that will reveal how deeply sin has already begun to affect the human heart. The story of Cain and Abel awaits.